21st century is reshaping every single day with much more and how. Well, welcome to the Economic Times live webinar on adopting hybrid cloud for your organization powered by Microsoft and PWC. As our industry experts will share some of the amazing insights on how you can leverage hybrid cloud for an agile and resilient organization. As organizations modernize their IT infrastructure, many are shifting from a traditional three-tier architecture to a hyper-converged infrastructure. Now, this architecture integrates compute, storage, networking, and of course, the virtualization into a single platform with a unified management plane. The HCI platforms that deliver a cloud-like experience on premises accelerate the transition to hybrid multi-cloud and enable simple and rapid mobility of cloud-native applications between the public cloud and an on-premises private cloud. Now, these capabilities drive organizations to invest in HCI, and according to ESG research, HCI has significantly been gaining momentum year over year. The IT organizations quickly discover that delivering the simplicity, speed, accessibility, scalability, and flexibility, self-service, and other benefits of private clouds can be a complex and a painful exercise, requiring the coordination and integration of many components. Enterprise applications like SQL Server drive businesses every day and demand high performance for workloads such as the OLTP and real-time analytics. To collect the massive data volumes needed and deliver virtually instant data access for applications such as online trading, fraud detection, retail customer interactions, and the like, these applications must be supported by an enterprise-class storage foundation. Large-scale consolidation of mixed workloads can increase cost efficiency as long as mission-critical workloads are assured of the highest performance and scalability to meet the demands of growing business. The need is to educate IT professionals about information technology solutions for companies for all types and sizes. The hybrid computing is the way forward in order to let organizations lead with the IT governance and control, maintaining compliance and control. The concept of hybrid computing and its approach majorly revolves around a strategy which helps govern the deployment and delivery various digital services, resources, and applications. Since the hybrid computing business model involves legacy and cloud applications, it enables agile delivery models in an easier fashion, while it leverages cloud-ready data resources, providing its users the tools they need whenever they need them. Implementing this enables IT leaders attain the desirable levels of infrastructure, and the empowered data centers then allow physical compute, storage, and a network resource. For much more on this, let's bring to you the best from our very best on adapting hybrid cloud for your organization. Please welcome our industry keynote, Mr. Sanjay Ganesh, Associate Director, PWC, to start off with the adopting hybrid cloud for your organization. Sir, over to you.
Hello, thank you, and thank you, Mithun, and good morning all for participating in this seminar. So, I would give you some industry insights about, today's topic on hybrid cloud and multi-cloud. So we start with we've named this slide uniquely as Dancing with Elephants. That's because, hyperscalers of the world are like elephants today. They provide gamut of services. They have plethora of services to work on. And it makes all the sense to you cannot ignore them today, right? They offer a lot of slides So we introduce you to a new term called cooptation. So cooptation is very essential today, right? To collaborate and work with and leverage the benefits of the hyperscaler today. To deal with business competition, to foster innovation, to develop technological advances in the business, look at new markets or entering new markets, or even creating new products, right? So each of these, we people have started looking at cloud, and cloud enables to foster the businesses, or enhance our businesses. So then this word, which was coined late in 1913, becomes very relevant today, right? With when we compete with our business competitors, when we have to expand our footprint, and cloud becomes a very important proportion, or moving into cloud, at least adoption of cloud becomes a very important proportion. So hence this word. So with this, let me move on. Let me present you with some quick statistics on how the cloud has evolved over time, right? Today, at global arena, the estimation is about 411 billion, right, for towards cloud of different services, and it is growing 20 at the rate of 21% annually, right? And it is, the landscape is has got many players today, right? Many predominant players. You can see the name, right? Who have disrupted the old IT players or the data center hosting technology. They offer right from hybrid cloud solutions to which also enable multi-cloud, right? Where you can choose the right type of cloud for right type of workloads or services, right? So what is driving us? What is, if we look back and see what is the key, what are some key factors which are driving towards this cloud journey, be it hybrid, where you extend your on-premise onto cloud, or even looking at maturing as a multi-cloud platform, right? So it could start with something which, though we have advanced from a technology front or from a cloud front, right? But not all of our applications might have matured, right? Some of our applications might have piled in the business over a period of time, and those would still have a significant role in the business. So do we just let them go off? We cannot, right? We cannot trade off with them. So how do we deal with such situations? So those kind of applications, while we try to modernize them, can remain on premise, right? We can go the route of a hybrid cloud. Some of them can stay on premise, while you know while all the good services or latest services are available on cloud. So why should we deprive ourselves from using them? So we can also look at the other side of the story, adopt a cloud, use whatever is possible, while some of applications which undergoes modernization or replacement can stay on premise. So that's how we get best of both the worlds, right? While IoT is developing at a very fast pace, we are at the age of connected devices, right? Where we talk about edge devices, which connects to cloud for analytics purpose, or for processing these details and getting meaningful insights. So that's the, with that pace, that is something which really drives cloud in towards the production industry, or towards more on the mechanical side of things and electronic side of things, right? While on the other end, people who have already adopted cloud, businesses who have already adopted cloud, are looking to mature, on looking to mature, or look at players who have niche in certain areas, right? Maybe in the space of AI ML, maybe in the space of analytics, maybe in the space of uh, some other services they would like to have, right? Or maybe, or in the IoT space, right? So then they're looking at, okay, why, though I have adopted my journey onto cloud, I'm there on the cloud, but then how could I leverage, looking at some specialized clouds or industry clouds, how can I embrace them, how can I leverage them also while I'm already there on the cloud, right? So that's the way how this journey starts. So let me throw in a little bit of more statistics here. Let's dwell deep into this. While the SaaS offerings typically, people have started adopting email as a service, HRMS as a service, CRM as a service, and things like that, right? Well, that market is really booming. You can see the statistics yourself. Worldwide, there is a high adoption of SaaS, which is close to about 53%, and then followed by IaaS, which is still the traditional way of going into cloud. And of course, some of them have transitioned into PaaS as well, which is typically the PaaS services offered by the, the large hyperscalers today, right? Which gives us the leverage to utilize and reduce our overhead of maintaining them. If you look towards the right hand side, there's some, we get a very good statistics from market forecast, based on Forrester, that it is going growing at a rate of 21% year on year from 2018 to 2022. If you see, it has steadily grown, right? And you can see the split yourself, right? So the SaaS is steadily increasing. So I just want to go on to the next slide with these thoughts in your mind. So moving on, here are some more statistics, more on the hybrid side of the story, where the maroon colored donuts, what you see, the percentages like 64, 80%. This we have gathered from different research agencies who are predicting nothing less than 60% at a minimum adoption rate for hybrid cloud, right? So you can see all numbers above 60. By all the leading research firms who have of the customers who have adopted hybrid cloud, which is a combination of on-premise workload and then steadily moving towards public cloud. So let me move on to the next one. Now, what is driving these cloud adoption? Now that we have seen the statistics, what is the drive behind all of this, right? What are the 5 reasons? If I were to name, based on which industry businesses are steadily moving to cloud. What is so special about cloud, and why hybrid is even in play, right? If we start looking at that, cloud gives you a very stable performance. Cloud has many services in place or mechanisms in place which can dynamically provision resources, right? It is capacity on demand. So whatever performance or availability issues you had on premise today, you can forget them behind, right? You can, when you go on to cloud, you can forget them behind. Cloud provides you availability by default, right? Availability is given in cloud, and performance is on demand, right? Whenever you need performance, you get it, because there's no limit to services which are available on cloud or the capacity on cloud, right? So data sovereignty is something which people, the regulators are heavily working around this. But then if there are regulations around geographic locations or the laws of the land which needs to be adhered to, that is also to an extent mitigated today with cloud providers providing regions within that particular geography, so that they give you an assurance that the data does not move out of the geographical boundaries, right? The costs, typically there's a very good cost advantage, because it provides you the economy of scale, where cloud can always give you that advantage, because they are not only a catered data center, it is more open to a public, and there are a lot of virtual services which are offered. They can always provide you the economies of the scale when it caters to a larger audience. The latency issues, thanks to the new age networking, software-defined networking, agile networking, and the the bandwidths available today, the flexibility available today, the latency issues, which we was a big concern earlier on. Is no more there, right? With the advent of latest network technologies, the latency issues have got pretty much buried, and there are new technologies available, and majority of the network providers today seamlessly integrate with cloud. So that with that kind of a thing, those issues kind of help us our cloud journey. And typically the security services also on cloud have well matured. Now there are plethora of services, there are a lot of breadth of services available on cloud. You name anything, it's available either as a native service on cloud, or it's available in their marketplace, right? With that, the security issues is no more a concern. Let me take an example of here of a Viva software, which is an American company, which a product company which caters to a pharma thing, right? So they have, so now product companies have also started looking at offering multiple products. Say Viva Vault, if you say, which I've portrayed here, can operate very well on a private cloud. but that can help for a highly regulated customer who doesn't probably, because of regulations and compliance in the pharma industry, doesn't allow them to move on a public cloud. So if they want to use that on a private cloud, so there's one offering, right? Towards the right hand side, if you see, there's also Viva CRM, which is public cloud ready, which is available as a SaaS platform on multiple channels. So just wanted to relate you with an example. So that's there, right? So if we see the IoT space, right, the second point which I earlier touched upon, IoT is increasing, right? And then there is an intelligent edge. There is always a requirement of the data which is processed at the edge, and this needs to go to this needs further processing, right? Which requires certain type of hardware and some computing power which cannot be completely placed on edge, right? So those devices go to the core, and further for storing the data and for analyzing and for developing patterns, identifying patterns and things like that, we will require a high full-fledged cloud. So that's where typically the journey from edge all the way to the core, which is kind of a near sort of processing, and then that kind of gets forwarded onto the cloud. So we have put in different examples here, like an autonomous car, oil and gas rigs, where you might need a small device which hooks up to this rig, or an autonomous car which can kind of quickly gather the data through their sensors, which are there in the form of IoT, push it to the core, get immediate decisions done, and for the larger patterns or for machine learning and things like that, and for developing learning patterns, that can be obtained from a public cloud. Yeah. So I'll move on to the next one. Um, you know, this is 92% of the enterprises today moving to the multi-cloud journey from hybrid. People, the businesses who have matured today, right? We see about 92% of enterprises who are already there on who have adopted cloud are using more than one cloud. It could be two clouds or more, in terms of they using one cloud as their primary service provider for some of their workloads, their production workloads, or for their test workloads or lower environments. Another cloud provider could be used for a CRM, for an email, for any of the SaaS applications. So that's how they typically start with, and then they expand their horizon using services with another customer. So today hyperscalers are also providing a lot of management consoles or management suites around this to enable this journey seamlessly, which can be controlled through a single pane of solution, right? So here I wanted to run you through some examples of options which are available, right from if a data transfer needs to be done from on-premise onto cloud, and then if you require migration from on-premise to to the cloud, you can look at partners like us, and then how how to accelerate some of these initiatives, right? You don't have a lot of time, you want to quickly move some of the workloads. That's where there are programs, initiatives, cloud adoption frameworks available, which you can leverage with partners like us, and with cloud providers like Microsoft, which provides a plethora of these things to enable you in that journey, right? So some of the hybrid cloud options which I did touch upon, right? Like Azure Arc, or if you are already in a VMware stack today, how to move that onto cloud, the strategic partnership which they have, that is well enabled today. Right. So with this is so then how do, with all this information which I have given you and statistics, how do I even start, right? How do I start with a hybrid journey? Today I'm on premise. Then if I want to go on to cloud, or if I have started my journey onto cloud, how do I full-fledged go on my hybrid cloud, right? First you'll have to analyze the portfolios of your applications to understand how well are you equipped, how good are your applications ready to move on to cloud, right? Onto hybrid journey to start with, or if you already are, matured in a cloud journey, then how to enable your journey onto multi-cloud, right? And then look at consolidating your management plane or your control plane of these clouds or your on-premise versus the cloud onto a single plane of control. How can you control them through one management console? That becomes easy for your admins, for your IT team to manage it consistently, right? That and then how can you leverage your application to have a consistent performance or consistent thing between your on-premise and cloud without you knowing whether it is some part of it might be running on on-premise, some part of it might be on cloud, right? So how to deal with some of the other controls in terms of security, risk, and compliance portfolios, and then um, the important part, how to track your billing and finance while you are on cloud or across multiple clouds. So this is where you can look at our partnership to help you here, and then uh, this will help you adopt cloud, whether it is from on-premise to hybrid or from one cloud to another, or expand your cloud horizon. Um, with that, I leave you here with these thoughts. I think there will be a next session which will go into the details of each of these offerings. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay, for that amazing insight about what it looks like with hybrid and cloud. Up next, we have the partner Keynote, and for that, may I please welcome A. Krishna Prasad, Product Manager, Azure Cloud Infra, Microsoft India, and he will be joined with Ram Mohan JV, Azure Hybrid Specialist, Global Black Belt Team, Microsoft India, after he's done.
Yeah, firstly, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's almost afternoon, by the way. So good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for having taken time out to come by for listening in to us, and truly appreciate that. I do hope that you and your loved ones are safe. My name is Krishna Prasad. I run the cloud infrastructure business for Microsoft in India, and it's my absolute pleasure to be speaking with you all today. Let me quickly get going on this. One of the reasons for Azure Hybrid stems from the fact that our customers' environments continue to evolve. Right, our customers started from primarily running applications on bare metal servers. Then we had the evolution from a virtualization perspective, when the customers started to virtualize their infrastructure. Then obviously we moved on to containers and serverless kind of technologies. Even the way applications were built a while back to what it is now, the frameworks have evolved, right, from .NET and Java right up to now Node.js, PHP, all of that stuff. Most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, it's also about the way our customers are consuming infrastructure, right? Some of them continue to invest in on-premises infrastructure in their own data centers. Some of them leverage hosted clouds. Some of them do also have infrastructure in branch offices. And most importantly, and Sanjay did mention about this in terms of the proliferation of IoT within all of our customers and the edge devices, right? So you've got infrastructure spread all across. And last but not the least, from a complexity standpoint for a customer, it's also a multi-cloud world, right? So you've got the hyperscalers just like Microsoft Azure, AWS, or Google Cloud for that matter, also coming into the picture. So practically, our customers' environments continue to evolve. And most importantly, what it does for them is bring in additional complexities to manage, to govern, and to secure these multi-cloud, hybrid cloud environments, and to operate them in a very seamless manner. Let's go further. What's the reason for hybrid multi-cloud strategy, right? Sanjay did touch upon it in brief. I won't dwell upon it further. Most importantly, there's regulatory and data sovereignty requirements, right, which necessitate customers to retain data within the four walls of the data centers, right? Obviously, there's a requirement around low latency. Some of the applications need data locality. What it means is the proximity of the application to the data needs to be as proximate as it could be. So that's a critical requirement as well. Most importantly, a lot of our customers are also looking at modernizing their applications and modernizing their data centers. And we're going to discuss that today, right? In terms of how do you go about modernizing your infrastructure, from subsuming it from discrete three-tier server storage networking architecture to hyper-converged infrastructure, the ability to bring in cloud-native application builds to modernize your legacy applications. That's something that we're going to talk about, and that's a primary driver for a hybrid multi-cloud strategy. The ability then to build business continuity and resilience, right? A lot of our customers would love to engage with a hyperscaler for disaster recovery as a service while retaining their primary data within the four walls of the data center. That's a common use case that's driving hybrid and multi-cloud strategy for our customers. And the innate desire of our customers to have the freedom to choose between multiple clouds, right? Customers feel that they have the innate desire to look at multiple clouds, which fits the best use case for them, for their businesses, right? So these are primary reasons for customers looking at hybrid and multi-cloud strategy. Moving forward, there is a very strong industry momentum towards hybrid and multi-cloud, right? 90% of our customers already are dependent on hybrid cloud in some form or the other. Close to 93% of our customers of enterprises are already on the multi-cloud journey. So, hybrid and multi-cloud is reality. Like cloud is a reality, hybrid and multi-cloud today is a reality for all of our customers. Let's move forward in terms of how Microsoft Azure as a platform is trying to solve for this, right? I did speak about very briefly in terms of in a multi-cloud environment, ladies and gentlemen, one of the key problem statements that a lot of our customers came back to us was the ability to build in operational level consistency, the ability to govern and have the same policy spread across their infrastructure, and then the ability to ensure that all of these have the same levels of security, be in a position to monitor all of this from a single pane of glass, and be in a position to make those remediated decisions real quick. So introducing to you, ladies and gentlemen, Azure Hybrid, of which Azure Arc is a supremely critical component. Azure Arc helps all of our customers bring in consistency and operate with the operation levels, the ability to necessitate and deliver policies consistently, driving governance across all of their infrastructure, and most importantly, being able to bring in consistency from a security standpoint across all of their infrastructure wherever they host it out, be it on Azure Stack Hci on premises or be it VMware, Nutanix, doesn't matter, right? And the ability then also to go ahead and govern public clouds or multiple clouds under a single umbrella. That's something that's extremely unique to us, and we're able to do that. Now, what does it bring beyond that, right? From an infrastructure perspective, Azure Arc helps you manage your Windows Server, Linux server-based applications or virtual machines, your SQL-based virtual machines, the ability then also to go ahead and deploy at scale any versions of Kubernetes or any distributions of Kubernetes clusters, right? Can do that. And most importantly, we don't stop there. We move forward and we bring in cloud-native application build capabilities on premises to any customer running any kind of infrastructure via Azure Arc to the Azure Arc enabled application services. And most importantly, the ability to bring in SQL and PostgreSQL as a service on premises on any infrastructure via Azure Arc to help customers build cloud scale applications on premises is something that's very unique to us. So net, Azure Arc and Azure Arc is one consistent Azure platform for solving hybrid and multi-cloud conundrums that a lot of our customers have. Let's move forward in terms of what does Arc enabled infrastructure mean for customers. The ability to bring all of your virtual machines, right, and bare metal servers, wherever they may be it either running Windows Server, be it either Linux, or be it either running those virtual machines on compete clouds, be it AWS or Google for that matter, the innate ability to bring all of them together from a single pane of glass and to be in a position to monitor them, to be in a position to govern and secure them, that's something very unique to Azure Arc enabled infrastructure as a service, and it's generally available. Azure SQL Server on Arc enabled server is the ability to manage SQL Server based virtual machines via Azure Arc. And like I mentioned, in terms of Azure Arc enabled Kubernetes clusters, the ability to be in a position to deploy, manage, and run any distribution of Kubernetes, right? Be it as a Rancher, Canonical, or for that matter, even AKS, which is a native first-party service on public cloud Azure. The ability to do that and manage it and run it and secure it is something which is very unique to Azure Arc. Let's move forward. In terms of what does Azure Arc enable Kubernetes in a bit more detail, right? One of the common challenges that a customer face is the innate ability for them to be in a position to not only manage but secure their Kubernetes clusters. Most of the times, customers do embark on the container journey to modernize their applications, but seldom does the worry of being able to apply consistent policies and security from an operations standpoint go away from a customer, right? Many a times our customers are struggling to do this, and instead of going ahead and building cloud native applications, they are just stuck with the routine administrative task of keeping their Kubernetes clusters consistent and operational. With Azure Arc enabled Kubernetes, we're solving for that problem. The ability to configure GitOps workflow, which is from GitHub, which is again a Microsoft company, the ability to configure GitOps workflows to be in a position to bring that consistency using that across all the clusters is something which is very unique to Azure Arc. The ability then to monitor this using Azure Monitor gives customers great amount of capability to look at how the cluster, how the application is performing. And with Azure policies coming alongside with Azure Arc, you're able to bring in role-based access control, and you're able to bring in compliance across environments, across Kubernetes clusters. All of this being enabled by our Azure Arc enabled Kubernetes service. Let's move forward in terms of what does Azure Arc enabled data service mean to customers. Many of you, all customers, would be leveraging SQL Server based applications, and you would be running SQL Server on premises. Some of you may be in a position wherein you are running older versions of SQL. Now, what are we helping our customers do? We are able to bring in the latest and the greatest version of Azure SQL, which is a managed PaaS service on the public cloud Azure to be run on premises on any of your infrastructure via Azure Arc. Now, this gives customers great amount of capability with respect to the SQL Server. Right now, you are going to be leveraging Azure SQL in a pay-as-you-go model, and you're going to be built on a consumption-based model, right? So it's true blue as a service from a database perspective on premises with the latest and the greatest from Azure SQL. So your security compliance requirements are kind of sorted out for, right? And we don't stop there. We take it further into PostgreSQL. A lot of our customers do leverage the NoSQL databases for application build. The ability to then bring that on premises for you to be in a position to build those cloud native, cloud scale applications and bring in those elements of elasticity of the cloud is something that Azure Arc enabled data services does for you. And please note, the underlying infrastructure could be any for all of this. In terms of, a lot of you all would be VMware Vsphere customers, right? We're now introducing Azure Arc enabled VMware Vsphere. The ability to manage the entire VMware environment, be it in terms of virtual machine lifecycle, be it in terms of role-based access for self-serve operations, and the ability to then bring all of those with a single pane view. And in addition to that, like I mentioned, Azure Monitor, Azure Security Center, and Azure Policy to ensure there is consistency from a policy compliance perspective is something that's extremely unique to us. And with Azure Arc, we're able to do that on VMware vSphere environments on premises. We move forward. We spoke all at the infrastructure layer, right? The most important thing, a lot of our customers did come back to us and seek help from us is in terms of how can they modernize their applications within the four walls of the data center, right? Infrastructure modernization has been there for a while. What about application modernization? And here we bring Azure Arc enabled application services, wherein we are able to, with the host of services, be it either app service or Azure Functions or Logic Apps, or even for that matter, API management and even grid, we're able to bring in cloud native application build capabilities within the four walls of a customer to be run on Kubernetes clusters, managing containers, all of this enabling customers to innovate where they are. And then the ability to ensure that you have a single view across all of your environments is something that's extremely unique to us again. We move forward. A lot of cloud native applications also do leverage machine learning, right? There is an innate requirement for all of these applications to be in a position to look at the data these cloud scale applications generate, the ability then to train models, be in a position to do machine learning on top of it, be in terms of be it on top of it, doing analytics on top of it. This is something that's a requirement from all of our customers, right? And many of the customers do come to public cloud Azure to do all of this. And there's a requirement of a bunch of customers that is there a possibility of we bringing that on premises on their infrastructure? And with Azure Arc enabled machine learning, which is still in the preview stage, we're able to do that. We're able to bring in innovation rapidly into a customer's data center with Azure Arc enabled machine learning, the ability then to make real-time decision making basis the machine learning models, basis the analytics, and basis the dashboarding that you could do, leveraging the tools that you have, is something that's extremely unique to us. And we could do this on any infrastructure, any Kubernetes cluster, anywhere. Let's move forward, and this is where I would want to give you this is a view that I would want you all to keep in mind, right? Azure Arc and Azure Stack Hci form the fundamentals of Azure Hybrid as a strategy, right? Azure Stack Hci is rendered on x86 architecture and x86 servers from our OEM partners, right? Hardware OEM partners. The ability, what does it solve for? Is the ability to run virtual machines and containers on a single cluster, right? And most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, all the services that we spoke about, Azure Arc enabled, Kubernetes or Azure Arc enabled data services or machine learning or application services, all of that in Azure Stack Hci is run on the containers, right? Which is Azure Kubernetes Service on Azure Stack Hci. That's the container orchestration platform. So the ability for you all as customers to be in a position to innovate where you are is something that's very unique to us. So as I draw close to my presentation and pass it on to Ram for a moment, the only thing that I want you all to take in mind is thought processes to ensure we bring in innovation into the four walls of your data center. That's the thought process that I want you to all take over. And with that, I'll pass the baton on to my dear friend Ram Mohan, who will take you very specifically in terms of how Azure Stack Hci functions. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, thank you very much, Krishna. So, hey everyone, this is Ram Mohan. I'm part of global black belt team, and I'm driving Azure Hybrid. So let's delve into Azure Stack Hci. So what is Azure Stack Hci? Is to start with, this is completely a new operating system which we have launched a couple of years back. Okay, so many of our customers and friends do ask, hey, when we are launching a new operating system, what is happening with the traditional Windows Server? Our investments are continue to grow with Windows Server. Our roadmaps and all of those things would be same as it is. We would be going, and we are investing on this new operating system, which is Stack Hci. Now, what is Stack Hci? This is mainly an hypervisor. We'll be running, storage spaces direct, S2D, software defined networking, all of this, which would be running behind Azure Stack Hci. And traditionally, we would be running Windows Server on this Azure Stack Hci as a guest operating system, which traditionally Windows Server brings, like multiple roles like IIS, file servers, DNS, DHCP, ADS, and all of those things, especially SQL Server. So you all are well aware. All of these server roles continue to be as Windows Server as a guest operating system on Azure Stack Hci. Now, I want to take you to four important points. Why Azure Stack Hci is more, more beneficial or rightly suits your requirement. These are, it is mainly hybrid by design, enterprise scale and then price performance, familiar management and operations, and choice of your deployment. Let me get into each of these points one by one. Point number one, hybrid by design. Yes, we strongly say that Azure Stack Hci is hybrid by design. Why? let me take two steps back. I mean, it actually starts with a bare minimum of 2 node cluster. Yes, you heard it right. We can create Azure Stack Hci with a minimum of 2 node cluster. And once when you have this 2 node cluster setup ready, the only thing you have to do it is register this cluster to Azure Public Cloud. That's it. The magic starts. You will be able to manage this entire cluster from Azure portal. You will be able to do all the services which you traditionally do on premises. You will be able to do it from cloud itself, which means you will be getting a single pane of glass. As Krishna said, the magic of Arc also begins when you register this cluster to Azure Public Cloud, and then you'll be able to do all you'll be able to pull all Azure services as basic. It could be like, to take backup, to have a DR on Azure and all of those things. Apart from that, you'll also be, able to manage your patches, download your patches, push your patches, and all of those things can be done seamlessly when this cluster registers itself to Azure Public Cloud. I want to, delve a bit deeper into what Azure services or what more, HCI can brings when we call it as hybrid by nature. Let me start from the left hand side, which says about Windows Admin Center. So what is Windows Admin Center? I need not say, I believe most of the audience in this, attending this session would know about Windows Admin Center. This is a tool to manage the HCI cluster. And we have also embedded hybrid tools, that is Azure services at this admin center level as well. We have, the 5 main Azure services with Azure File Sync, Backup, Monitoring, Security Center, and Update Management. All of those things are part of WAC portal, which is Windows Admin Center. What this means is for the customer who want to manage this cluster, HCI cluster locally, they can connect to Windows Admin Center. They can manage seamlessly within a local data center, within 4 walls of your data center. For the customer who wants to bring, going a step ahead, bringing more Azure services is when we register the cluster and then you leverage more of these services. Like, if I have to highlight them, you know, this is what we'll be getting when we'll be registering to Azure services. Point number one is Azure Auto Manage. Azure Automate. We can automate, we can have scripts inbuilt to, when we spin up the virtual machines, or we can automate many seamless activities traditionally, which you do by leveraging your, resources and which you do manually. We can most of them is what we can add automate leveraging Azure automation. App services, we can bring the beauty of app services, which are actually cloud native app services. We can bring those app services onto Azure Stack HCI, and then you can seamlessly deploy your applications on top of these app services. Azure Kubernetes Service. Azure Kubernetes Service is a key difference when, or this is a major important thing when we talk about HCI. Why? Because Azure Kubernetes Service is closely integrated at an operating system level, where you can run your container instances. You can also, pull cognitive services and, AI ML services and, SQL PaaS services onto this Kubernetes service, and you can deploy your application seamlessly. Last but not the least, Windows Virtual Desktop. This is beauty. Most of you might have already been using Azure Virtual Desktop on Azure. Now we are getting this on your Azure Stack HCI. Apart from that, the beauty of Azure Arc, as KP Krishna has rightly said, is what you can do is you can, govern, organize, secure, protect, monitor, automate, and then deploy virtual machines to applications, and all of those things can be seamlessly done when we are integrating Azure Arc to Azure Stack HCI. This is a native integration. This integration is being done at an HCI operating system level. So this is, hence we call Azure Stack HCI is purely hybrid by design. Going to the next one, which is enterprise scale and then performance. So when we talk about enterprise scale, obviously many of the customers and then friends ask, hey, I have my database servers running. I'm running my SQL. Can I achieve a million of IOPS leveraging Azure Stack Hci? Absolutely, yes. We have the latest and the greatest of processors, and then the general processors, and then the GPUs. All of those things embedded into HCI to help you with this. We have tested in our labs. We can easily achieve a million of IOPS with Azure Stack Hci when we configure storage spaces direct. Obviously, SQL servers are the key workloads which are very good when we talk about Azure Stack HCI. The other important point when we talk about Azure Stack HCI is being completely hybrid. When we manage entire thing from Azure Public Cloud, is we even you know uh, get into a level of subscription based monitoring or management thing from monitoring Azure portal, sorry about that, which means you will be able to charge, we will be charging you a monthly based billing for this Azure subscription, Azure Stack HCI. And then second of all, when we talk about HCI, obviously we will be able to run virtual machines, which is Windows and Linux, and also Kubernetes. The other beauty which end customer would get is, we all know that Windows Server 2008 is end of life in few months from now. It is very close. So the customer can port their Windows Server 2008 servers onto Azure Stack HCI, and they will be able to get extended security for about next couple of years without extra cost in it. Last but not the least, the point is HA and DR. We have a concept called stretch cluster. What it does is, a stretch cluster is a concept where we can back up one HCI cluster onto other HCI cluster with the concept of stretch clustering. We can use it as DR or HA and all of those things. And this stretch cluster is part of operating system, and we do not charge extra for a customer who wants to leverage this stretch clustering. Third point, an important point is, okay, when we bring Azure Stack HCI to you, are we asking you to change any management console, or are we bringing anything new to you? No, the answer is no. We'll be going with the same management tools which you have already been used for quite long time. You will be leveraging Windows Admin Center. You'll be leveraging Azure Portal. You'll be leveraging PowerShell to manage this HCI cluster. The benefits of automation will be, you can seamlessly see when we leverage PowerShells and then Azure automation. So net, no new management tools. It's same old management tools from WAC portal, from Azure portal, from PowerShell. Apart from this, we also closely integrate with our third-party tools like Veeam, Veritas, or or many such kind of things which we are onboarding to seamlessly help you to to back up your things or protect your workloads and all of those things on Azure Stack HCI. Last point on this one is choice of your deployments. Now, this is very important. What do we mean by choice of deployment? Now, we have integrated with multiple OEMs to build this Azure Stack HCI. So we are partnering with our OEMs. OEMs bring this hardware, stack for us. And then you can choose many. So we have two types of hardwares. One is validated and the other one is integrated. Validated is any hardware which is x86 supported, is what we call it as validated nodes. Once when you have this validated nodes, you have to manually download the operating system. How you can do it? You have to log into my Azure portal and then download the operating system, put it onto the Stack HCI cluster, and then register it to Azure Public Cloud. That's all. Simple. You have to do all of those things manual. Secondly, integrated. Integrated means a hardware comes with pre-installed operating system. So what a customer has to do, he has to just register this cluster to Azure Public Portal, Azure subscription. That's all. The magic starts. So this is very, very simple. And there is a third point to it for the customers who say, hey, I have my existing hardware within my local data center, and we have x86 kind of an architecture there. Can we leverage this hardware and then try out Azure Stack HCI? And then the answer is yes, absolutely. You can go ahead, download the operating system, deploy on this hardware sitting in your local data center, and you can try out Azure Stack HCI. Another important point is we have a half yearly release of our updates on Azure Stack HCI. Whenever we release any minor update or major update, we push through Azure portal, and you can seamlessly an end customer would get a notification. Once when you have notification, you can plan your activity, update activity, and you can update your Azure Stack HCI from one version to another version year on year without changing much. So it's a seamless upgradation. So which means, if you're using cloud, we are pushing many updates starting from virtual machines to IaaS to PaaS and then SaaS. It's that simple. Those updates would be pushed onto your Azure Stack HCI cluster sitting in your local data center, and you can seamlessly update from one version to other version seamlessly without any charge. So finally, now that we talked about Azure Stack HCI, we'll see what are the advantages. Where is this Azure Stack HCI can be deployed? The four major categories where we have seen success and performance is point number one. In your local data center, when you're planning to modernize and then secure your data center, we have seen the ways when we have to modernize our applications, we can leverage Azure PaaS services, Azure Kubernetes services, and multiple Azure services, which we get through Azure Arc integration. All of this can be done to modernize your data center, modernize your applications. Second of all, affordably run intelligent edge and remote branch solutions. This means we can start leveraging Azure Stack HCI with a bare minimum of 2-node cluster, and these 2-node cluster can be set up at any robo location, remote office, branch office, and we can seamlessly integrate to Azure Public Cloud, bring the Azure services, and they can be seamlessly run IoT services or edge services or any such kind of things. We have seen success in retail industry, in manufacturing industry, and multiple other industry leveraging this. Third, SQL, industry best performance for SQL Server databases. We'll be able to achieve more than 1 million of IOPS when we are running SQL on Azure Stack HCI. And bringing PaaS services onto Azure Stack HCI is another important point where we have seen much success leveraging Azure Stack HCI. If I have to conclude or put all the points what we discussed together in a single slide, this is it. This is Azure Stack HCI for you. Let me come from the bottom of this and let me explain this in a couple of minutes. The bottom, what we call is hardware ecosystem. We integrate with multiple hardware vendors for this. It could be Dell, Lenovo, Cisco. The list goes on. Once when you have this hardware from OEMs or HCI validated hardware, when you have this, the next thing you have to do is download Azure Stack HCI and then configure. Once when you do, obviously you'll be able to run virtual machines. It could be Windows virtual machines or Linux virtual machines. When you want to run your container instances, you need not do anything because you already have Azure Kubernetes service running on Azure Stack HCI. So straight away you can deploy your container services. You can leverage Azure Cognitive services in this and also pull Azure data services like SQL MI or PostgreSQL and databases like this. Once when you're leveraging all of this, obviously you'll be able to run your application seamlessly on Azure Stack HCI. For the customers who want to manage this Azure Stack HCI locally, you can seamlessly leverage Windows Admin Center and manage this one. And with the integration of Arc, we can manage the entire Azure Stack HCI cluster by simply logging into Azure public portal and then managing, governing, securing all of those things seamlessly to Azure public cloud. With that, I come to the end of my session. Thank you very much for joining this, and I'll give it back to Mithun.
Thank you, Ram. That advantage and much more about hybrid cloud, giving us much more insight. Thank you again. I have questions that's coming from our audience, so I will request Ram, Krishna, as well as Sanjay to please join us back again. So let's start with the first question that's coming in, and I would request Krishna to lead this front. Krishna, the question is coming from Subodh Fadnis. He has a question. Why do CIOs choose hybrid cloud solutions in the coming year?
One of the reasons why CIOs would end up choosing hybrid cloud solutions would be the fact that first and foremost they want to mitigate any business risk that that a typical on-prem data center would have, right? So they want to bring in greater amount of business agility. They want to bring in greater amount of business resilience, and most importantly, please note all decisions that the CIOs take, right, from a technology standpoint, is always driven by their customers' business, right? It's what the business demands. And today, if the business demands agility. So it's supremely important for customers to look at hybrid cloud and try to simplify operations within both of them, right? Given the fact that you will have application portability, you'll have data portability between the hybrid cloud environment, supremely critical for a CIO to make that decision. And that primarily, according to me, is a driver for hybrid cloud conversations for CIOs or adoption.
Rightly said. Ram, my question is to you. How does Azure Hybrid, the Arc and the Stack HCI, differentiate itself from the other hybrid stacks available for customers?
Yeah, very good question. How it is different? How it is different is, we just saw the native integration of Azure Kubernetes service at an operating system level and Azure Arc at an operating system of Azure Stack HCI is the key difference of leveraging Azure Stack HCI versus other hypervisor solutions.
Oh wow, that's very simple for one to understand from a point of view. Okay, my next question is to Sanjay. Sanjay, how does the technology which has evolved in the past few years with reference to IT infrastructure, and where does PWC see the same in the coming 5 years from now?
So yeah, so we have seen, we have mixed sort of clients here, right? From different backgrounds, right? So we've helped clients adopt their cloud journey, where they were completely on a traditional data center with a traditional set of workloads where they were struggling with performance issues, or maybe bandwidth issues, or with regards to their systems were not fine tuned. There were disruptions in their business. So we have seen customers struggling to that extent, or we have also seen customers, right, where they've taken a leap to cloud, right? They've started the cloud journey. They've started adopting, email services or any kind of commodity services on cloud. They've tested some good success in it. They like cloud. They like the direction of cloud, and then they wanted to further enhance their journey with their some set of applications, maybe their lower environments to go on cloud, and then how do their development team and other teams feel, and then with that pilots or success in place, and then they wanted to take their core business applications onto the cloud. So we've seen mixed set of customers from different industries, be it financial sector, or be it healthcare, or be it pharma, or travel and things like that. Yeah, with the advent of COVID coming in, pandemic coming in, some of these industries did not had some time to look back to their IT and revamp their IT. So that's when we got a plethora of clients who wanted to do this and go full on when the pandemic is over and then start off with their business.
Rightly said, Sanjay, that the discovery of cloud has increased over the time, and customers are actually very focused about it, and they're trying to know much more about the cloud. That puts me to another question that's coming in from Giri Babu. I think Team Microsoft, any of you can take this question. Does hosting workloads on premises with Azure Stack Hci enables you to decrease data center complexity?
What was that? Data center, what was that last word? I lost you there, my apology.
Complexity. How complex is it?
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes. So data center complexity, got it. Absolutely, yes. Given the fact that today many of our customers typically are looking to subsume discrete server storage and networking solutions into hyperconverged, Azure Stack Hci can help do that. Most importantly, where it also solves for complexity is today when customers run virtual machines and containers, they run it in separate clusters. Right. And the most important thing around this is the management of virtual machines and Kubernetes clusters continue to remain disparate and separate. So you need different kinds of skills to do both. With Azure Stack Hci, our ability to bring the virtual machines and container workloads within the single cluster, wherein it obviously reduces complexity at the infrastructure layer and the management layer. But please also note, you don't need to reskill your employees. Your skills can remain the same, like Ram did mention, right? You can manage all of this from Windows Admin Center, So I think that helps a lot of our customers significantly. Another piece of it is in terms of even running multiple different stacks within the data center, be it either hyperconverged, Azure Stack Hci or others. If our customers can bring about Azure Arc into their environments, it solves for it actually brings down complexity even further from a governance standpoint and a security standpoint and an operations standpoint. What do you think?
Right, Krishna. Thank you so much. The next question is from Hiren. Very interesting question. Do we have any case studies for India deployment?
Oh yes, we're building a couple of them right now. We've had our initial wins. I'll be very honest here, ladies and gentlemen. Azure Stack Hci is a technology which is seeing traction in the last 6 to 7 months time, specifically within the India market. And we've had we are in the process of having our first few wins. So we will start publishing case studies as soon as we start having our wins. Absolutely yes.
Thank you, Krishna. We have last one question in the interest of time. I'll request Sanjay to take the next question, followed by Krishna and Ram. How exactly does HCI scale easier than the traditional infrastructure? Now, this is a question from a layman's point of view I'm asking you. So, Sanjay, your take on this?
Thanks, Nitin. So, the way we have seen this is, certainly Azure Stack Hci is a scalable solution, right? As did rightly mentioned by Microsoft. It can, though you deploy it on Azure Stack Hci to start with, it can seamlessly integrate with cloud, right? So it has got that, where you can leverage cloud at the back end and then expand your horizon from that perspective. So you can only for certain workloads where there are certain constraints because of which you are not able to move on to a full-fledged public cloud, you can start off there, but then from there you can the horizon is all open, right? So it seamlessly integrates there is an option to integrate into the public cloud of Azure.
Thank you, Sanjay. Krishna, your take on this?
Okay, let's start from hyperconverged infrastructure as a technology itself, right? Let alone Stack Hci. It's modular in design. What it means by that is you can scale with every node, right? Every node you add into the cluster, you scale compute, you scale storage, you scale networking. The ability then to be in a position to build all of this basis software-defined storage, compute, and networking, which is the abstraction layer for any hyperconverged infrastructure stack, makes HCI extremely scalable, right? And if you look at any HCI for the matter in the industry, can scale from 2 to 16 nodes per cluster, and you can run parallel clusters. So practically speaking, HCI is scalable. And if you would really come to Azure Stack Hci, we take pride in the fact that we can start as small as 2 nodes cluster. And like Sanjay did mention, the ability to keep connected with the public cloud Azure to bring in the latest and the greatest from the public cloud Azure on premises sets us aside.
Thank you, Krishna. I'm just going to tweak the question a little for Ram. Last question, Ram. Could you explain the partnership that Microsoft has with the OEMs on Azure Stack Hci?
Oh, we have a very strong partnership with multiple OEMs. KP, can you answer this? Because we are doing a lot of things from the OEM point of view. I don't know where to start.
No, I agree. So, Mithun, I'll take that question.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So we've got extremely robust partnerships with all the hardware OEMs, be it either HPE or Dell or Lenovo or Cisco, not in any order though. Okay, just stated that in as many words. Right, we've got 70 odd validated designs, validated nodes from each of these or across these hardware OEMs. And like Ram mentioned in his, in his presentation, right, Azure Stack Hci can be bought alongside with the hardware OEM's stack itself. What I mean by that is, if, say, for example, for argument's sake, if somebody looks at Dell or HPE, they've got their own integrated Azure Stack Hci, wherein a customer can reach out to them and they can sell this integrated. Alternatively, customers can buy the validated nodes, the hardware, as well as the Stack Hci separately. Please note also, our partnership with, all of these hardware OEMs goes beyond just this, right? There's obviously technology integration that's happening at the backend. And most importantly, we just don't do that. We also do a lot of go-to-market activities with them. Say, for example, with HPE, we're aligned with their Green Lake program, right? Which is anything as a service. Same thing with respect to Lenovo, we are aligned with them for their TrueScale, Lenovo TrueScale, which is again an as a service model. With Dell, we are aligned with their Apex model. So practically speaking, with the hardware OEMs, we have technology integration, we have support integration, we've got go-to-market integration, and we're seeing great amount of success, across the world with respect to all of these go-to-market with these hardware OEMs. So we'll see that slowly translating into India as well as we move into this particular year.
Right. I would like to add one point to what KP said from the technology point of view, if I can.
Yes, you can.
Oh, thank you. See, I mean, we call something called one-touch update. So what does this one-touch update means is when we talk about Azure Stack Hci validated nodes, with a single click of a button, we can upgrade firmware as well as OS with cluster-aware updates without bringing your any of your applications down. So this is integration at an operating system level, what we are doing with OEMs.
Right. Thank you for adding the last point, Ram. Indeed, very, very important and very insightful as well. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, Ram. Thank you, Sanjay. I think it was very interesting, and that does answer a question why it's a need to adapt to hybrid cloud for your organization. That's the only way forward, and I see no harm in terms of why not. So thank you again to Ram Mohan, A. Krishna Prasad, Sanjay Ganesh for joining us as our partners here, and I wish you great luck. If you have any more questions, drop in, because there's much more to learn and much more to gain, and the last 1 hour, you have got much more that's been answered. And thank you for your questions. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep the hybrid, keep the cloud, keep your organization safe. Thank you again.
Thank you.